Hey
Uh-oh.
everyone, welcome back to another episode of K6 Office Hours. My name is Marie. I'm one of your DevRels here at K6, and today I have.
It's Paul Balogh. I'm also a dev, dev advocate here at Grafana.
And
Yeah,
I'm Leon from InfinityWorks. So thank you very much for inviting me on, just to talk about an extension that I've written.
Well,
yeah,
and
it's
then
really great to have you. Yeah,
yeah, and talking before, we're talking about having pints. So pints of beer. We're gonna need to start doing that. So,
yeah.
Definitely.
Look out for the hashtag Pint with
yeah.
Paul. Okay. So Leon, yeah, I remember because like you reached out to me like in the K6 community Slack because you want to sort of do some collaboration with me where I have to, do some talk. But it like I think it was the opposite way around. Like I managed to convince you instead to collaborate with us. So yeah, I
Exactly.
think
I do feel
I think
slightly
my
cheated.
convincing power was
Yeah.
really good.
But we will definitely. Well, we'd love to have you up in Leeds and
Yeah.
IT talk.
Yeah, we
So
need to make that happen.
yeah, definitely.
Cool. So we like to always start the K6 Office Hours episode with a few announcements from our side. So I've mentioned this already last week when we did the K6 and Lambda Test episode. So next month I'll be speaking at TESMO conference. So it's a free virtual conference that Lambda Test is hosting. It's on the 22nd to the 24th of August. So my topic is about a hybrid approach to performance testing. And we'll also have a K6 virtual booth. So Paul will be there. Pepe, who was on the episode last week, will be there. Leandro, of course, will be there. And our community support engineer, Ima, will be there as well. So if you have any questions, about K6 or you just want to learn more about what K6 offer Pines with Paul, then come join us at the virtual conference and it's free. So yeah, leverage that. And then Paul, you're gonna be speaking as well at Star West
Yes.
this year.
Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be pretty much fun. It could because it's at Disneyland too. So I don't know. I don't know if I have to wear mouse ears, but I will.
You
I'm
have
totally
to.
willing to wear mouse ears.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be giving back-to-back talks
Oh
actually. So I'm gonna be
wow.
kind of busy that day. It's like woo, but yeah, all about talking about a little bit about the chaos or well the fault injection and then
Mm.
also with distributed load tests and Kubernetes. So should be fun. Hopefully I don't mess up, but at least I'll be wearing mouse ears.
Yeah.
So.
Leandro will be speaking as well, but different
Oh,
topics, right?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then he and I we're going to be running around too with the cameras and interviewing folks and everything too. So we'll be doing the whole live stream event. Should be fun.
Nice.
It's always entertaining. Let's just put it that way.
Fun at Disneyland.
Exactly. With mouse ears.
Yeah. And then the final thing from our side. So I think he's one of our longest contributor. Is it Paul?
Probably. I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably written most of the extensions or the
Extensions.
biggest chunk of extensions
Yeah.
single-handedly.
Yeah, he's been a guest as well on, like K6 Office Hours. So we're so happy to have Ivan Skiba finally join K6 and Grafana Labs as a full-time employee. So
Yes.
he's our newest senior engineer. I'm
Yeah.
here at Grafana Labs.
Definitely expect some exciting things. I mean, he's already written that the Grafana the dashboarding for K6. So, yeah, there's going to be I'm sure there's going to be a lot more stuff coming out from him. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
We need to have him again on on a future episode, K6 Office Hours, especially
Oh,
around
yeah.
his week of load testing. I'd be interested to see what he
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, back to the star of the show, Leon. Could you tell us a bit more about yourself? Like, what do you do at InfinityWorks?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just to give you a bit of the background on InfinityWorks, so a consultancy in the UK. So we work with lots of different clients. typically around engineering, quite a bit of stuff in the cloud. But I'm currently working with a company called ITV. So they're like one of the main kind of channels in the UK. So I don't know if you remember back to analog TV before people streamed. They were like your channel number 3 there. And so obviously moving kind of into the more modern world, streaming out many more channels than we had when I was a child. And so yes, supporting with that really it was an interesting one for me. Like I've done loads with video streaming before, joined them, and then there was a launch of their new product, ITVX, and then following that there was the World Cup. So massive football, or I should say soccer.
Don't have to change it on my account.
Massive thing. So obviously we had a lot of change going on. We were expecting, tons of streams coming through. You've got, like people across the UK watching this. So load testing that was challenging, exciting, but yeah, so interesting. I mean, we did really well. I mean, I think like there's so many bright people at ITV like who really know their stuff with videos. So it's been absolutely awesome working with them. And get to spend some more time there and do more exciting things.
I bet it took a lot of load testing to kind of get ready for the World Cup and all that. That had to be pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, that was awesome. Like we partnered with another company, so Akamai Cloud Test, who I mean, special shout out to Ashley from there, because he works like really closely with us, like making sure that we had all these journeys, so that you could get to the World Cup stream all load tested. So super exciting.
Yeah, because only a couple people watch that World Cup. Only a couple. So,
As a consultant, Leon, like, is there any, I guess, like specialty that you do in terms of like going to client site, or is it pretty much, I guess, like depending on what sort of improvements or what sort of needs the client requires?
I mean, in terms of like going to the client side sites, sorry, like I think since COVID, a lot of us have been working from home, so it becomes a bit easier. And we've got people working with us like all over the world now, so that's really cool. In terms of like specialties, in terms of like the engineering that we do, like we like try to be pretty broad. So like, I mean, I love working in AWS, and like TypeScript's probably my main language, but as we'll find out, I've managed to learn some Go, which is good. But yeah, really broad, and like we're trying to get involved across the board, like so. Obviously getting involved in load testing, understanding all of that, and I guess it makes us a bit more adaptable, I guess, so that we can tackle any of the challenges that come up, and it's kind of good to have that like across everything, really.
Yeah. So I guess from like a load testing perspective, have you is K6 a tool that I guess most or like many of your client sites are using? And I guess like from your perspective, how has that been, I guess, like helpful to organizations who really want to focus on like performance testing? Because for example, the World Cup scenario, like those are the events where we really need to prepare for that, because if we don't, then imagine like tons of millions or even billions of money that will be lost if like World Cup like didn't stream properly.
No, I mean, I think one of the things that I love about K6 really is that like you can use JavaScript with it. So I think most people are reasonably comfortable with JavaScript. So it's really easy to get going. And you've obviously got that performance side to it as well. The fact that all the kind of underlying I guess connections and everything is all written in Go. So you get that super fast side of things. You kind of know that it's going to scale quite well. But then I mean, I also think that there's quite a few other alternatives, aren't there, as well? And it can obviously depend on, what skills you've got in the team. If you've not got people who've done
Yeah.
JavaScript before, then maybe it's not the best approach. Or, I don't know, like you've got maybe some of the older, tools like JMeter where you can work through a UI as well. So I think it really depends. And I mean, for me, I think where it really works well is in those teams where you've got the right skills, but also maybe where you're working closer to the code. So I know a lot of developers maybe won't want to go and update a UI. They'll maybe want to, write some code really near the code that they're testing. So I
Yeah.
guess it's a bit of a kind of, it depends really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that because as a consultant, like you need to really understand first what the domain problem is, like what sort
Yeah.
of issues they are facing, rather than saying to them, hey, here's an awesome tool, let's use it. Because without understanding the underlying like initiatives, beforehand, or like the skill set, as you mentioned, it's gonna be more difficult to um like get their buy-in. Because if you start with the why, like why are we doing performance testing, then like searching for tools is always like the follow-up. Like we don't like focus on like the tooling first. Yeah.
no, exactly. And I think some of it as well is like trying these things out. So, you can obviously do a load of research, but I think being able to try out the tools really easily is super handy. And I think that maybe that's part of the reason that I wanted to write this plugin was like, if I'm working in AWS, super easy for me to just deploy a Timestream database, and it's really cheap as well. So, well, it obviously depends on what you're doing. If you've got millions of users for it, maybe it won't be so cheap. But it's quick to get going, and I'm not too fussed about running some load tests these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cheap factor. It's all a bit relative, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to pay the bill, but I guess it's cheap in the grand scheme.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can like explain or like talk about, because you've created the plugin because you want to output, your metrics to AWS Timestream. But I guess just for like so that the viewers also know, so there are actually different ways to output like the k6 metrics. So I guess when you run your test, you're presented with a summary report. It shows like the different, like I guess the average, the 95th percentile, and so on. But if you want something that's more granular, there are different formats that you can export it to, and that allows you to integrate your k6 results into different, I guess, like platforms, different databases. And I think one of the most popular one is like InfluxDB, or Prometheus. But in your case, you opted to do the integration with AWS Timestream. I'm wondering, like, was there any specific reason why you chose AWS Timestream, or did you look at the other time series database as well? Basically, what was your main main reasoning as to why you outputted your K6 results to Timestream instead of the other DB?
Yeah. So I mean, well, really, it's just laziness, I think. So I've got my AWS set up. I can just deploy a Timestream database there. And so I'm a big fan, really, of like the kind of the serverless style of approach to building. Because I'm not a huge fan of kind of running infrastructure and having to deal with all of that. So
Yeah.
you've got a serverless solution there that will scale up for you, and I'm not paying for it as well. Again, on the money side of things, I'm not paying for it when I'm not running my load test.
All valid reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I know there's like InfluxDB, and you can really easily buy on the AWS marketplace, and like I actually really love using that. And I mean, I played around with it a bit, and it's so fast. is awesome, and you get a very kind of similar experience in terms of the SQL that you can run on there, and in terms of just being able to query it really from anywhere and only paying for it while you're using it.
Yeah.
I think the other big one that I looked at really was Timescale DB. They seem really cool. Like, I know this is really coming from their website, but I know they did a comparison with Timestream when it first came out, and well, if you look at the alternatives bit of the GitHub repo for my plugin, you'll be able to see that they talk about massive performance and cost differences. So again, kind of a bit of laziness, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because yeah, I mean, we're all kind of like in IT because of laziness in a way, if you think about it, because we want to automate everything so you don't have to do it anymore and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny though. But yeah, it's always funny to hear that. That's because I'm lazy.
Exactly.
It's not a bad thing.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, go on.
no, I was just gonna I think AWS Timestream is it like a fairly new time series DB?
Yeah. So I think it was it was around 2019, somewhere around then,
Okay.
and it came out. So reasonably recent. And I mean, maybe one of the things, if you are thinking about using Timestream, is that it's not available in all the AWS regions yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might want to take that into consideration if you're really, properly thinking about using it. But if you're just demoing some stuff, you can put your
there was like, because like this afternoon I was trying it out for the first time, and when I was creating like the database, like there was a note there that is not available like if you're using other regions, but good thing the region that I'm in, like the EUS one, it's
US
there.
East
So
one.
yeah. So
Yeah, that's where
there's like a list.
everything is.
Yeah, there's like a list of just like regions that you can use Timestream to. So it would be good, to see the demo later, just to, I guess, show to people like how easy it is to create a database, or to create a table in AWS Timestream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
pretty cool too that it's a serverless setup. So that always kind of throws me off on some of these sometimes with the how they have the serverless option on these on a database. It's like, wait, a database is serverless. It's like it's always like, how can this be? What is this you speak of? What is this craziness? But do you know, is the underlying storage, is it just plain old S3 buckets and that, or it just optimizes the writing and the accessing of the data?
So I'm not actually sure on the underlying infrastructure there, but that would be really interesting to find out.
I am kind of curious, yeah, because I mean, I think ultimately though, everything in AWS is on S3 ultimately in some abstraction level or another. But yeah, I was just kind of curious.
EC2's an S3.
Yeah.
So you said a while ago that you were learning Go. And
Yay.
I guess the output of that was, you managed to create an extension. I'm curious to know, like, how was the experience for you in terms of, creating your own K6 extension?
I actually found it a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I was a little bit nervous, like going into, something I'd never done before in a new language. But there's absolutely tons of examples out there. I mean, it's great to hear that you've got someone new coming on board who's written so many extensions, but I probably referred to those several times. So yeah, you've really got tons of examples there, and you're not like, the API for doing it is really good and like really simple. So it's not confusing when you're trying to work with it. And it just ended up being like a translation really from a K6 style model into a Timestream style model. So it was absolutely great. And I think within the K6 Slack as well, there's a lot of support in there, isn't there, around extensions, which is awesome.
It's probably mostly around from Emma. Emma's our rock star and our community support and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's definitely good. But I'm glad to hear you enjoyed the Go experience though, because that's so I'm like a kind of a Go Bridge ambassador to for the language and that. But it's one of those things where it's like I love hearing people's first experience with Go. So was this your first experience with Go?
So I've done, like your kind of your tutorials before. I think I've walked through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Go tutorial maybe like 3-4 years ago, forgotten it all, and then gone through it again
Yeah.
more recently.
Right.
But yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, well, the first thing really that was going to be used by other people.
Yeah. No, that's cool. But yeah, because I love the Go programming language. I'm still not, I wouldn't consider myself an expert or anything, but it's just, I don't know. It is just, it's not as bad as, like you said, it's not as difficult
Mm.
to get into it as one might expect, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. It feels
I
like this.
guess as well, if you already know one programming language, like the principles will be
Exactly.
similar. It's just the
It's
syntax.
syntactic changes there, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
So this question might have been asked already, but let's say, someone has basic Go programming knowledge and they have an idea of what extension, to create. Um how, in terms of like the skills required, do they need like advanced Go programming to be able to create their own K6 extension?
Um, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think like Go's obviously, reasonably performant. So, you want to be a bit careful, obviously, in this situation because you're going to be saving loads of data somewhere. But I think as long as you test that out, run it under pressure and performance tune it, you'll end up with like a good solution. And again, like
Mm.
Go has quite a few features. I know, like through doing this, I learned about like the whole channels thing.
Hmm.
So it does make it really easy to make these performance solutions, which is really good. In terms of like for example, like the build process, it's super simple for Go as well. Like, and it'll also help you out a lot. There's like the Go vet command as well that'll tell you if you've done some of
Yeah.
the kind of rookie errors, which I think I was using quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
with
and
your
if you hook in the Golang CI, the linting and all that, that'll kind of make you feel humble, running that
Mm.
usually on your code too. So finds all kinds of things, but you learn from it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that I really like about it is that the whole like unit testing side of it's all built in, isn't it? So you don't need to download
yeah,
another package. It's just all there, ready to go. And I think it's one of the first times where, like, I was just amazed that you start typing some code and it's running your tests every time you press save, and you're like, oh my god, that was incredibly fast. Like,
I didn't know that. Yeah, because I'm more on the JavaScript side, so I actually haven't done a lot of Go programming. So that's something new that I learned today, that it's just built in.
yeah,
yeah, it's very much for creating your unit tests and that. And yeah, in the make file, I'll sit there, make a little change and then do make, and then it'll run your tests and everything. So if there's a regression or something. So
Mm,
it's good stuff. Tooling is nice for it.
yeah.
definitely.
Well, would you like to start demonstrating to us, Leon, like I guess, like if we start showing the GitHub project, or like, yeah, how do you want to do the demo?
Yeah, I'll share my screen if that's all right, and then we can maybe
Yeah.
walk through a little bit of the repo, maybe see like what commands I run to just get going.
Yeah.
The other thing, if we do have time as well, is that I did want to put maybe under a little bit of pressure, so maybe we can do a bit of a distributed load test, which would be quite fun.
Oh,
But I think,
yeah.
yeah,
Demo.
I've got my lucky socks on today. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
so I'll share my screen.
Oh yeah, I guess we lost the screen from before.
Yeah. There we go. Hopefully that's ready to go.
Let's see. Yep, there we go.
Cool. So yeah, the repo, if you just search for XK6 output Timestream, you should be able to find it easily through Google, or it's listed in the K6 extensions. So yeah, I'll walk through the README a little bit, but essentially I wanted to make it really easy to just get going. So for example, in the repo, there is a CloudFormation template to deploy a database and a table for you. So hopefully that'll just get you set up really easily.
Can you just make the VS Code window a bit? Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, like the thing that's kind of backing it is really simple to set up. We're talking 23 lines of CloudFormation there. So deploy that, and then really all you need to run it is the database name and the table name and your own AWS credentials, however you set them up. Just make sure, I guess, that they are. I'd read the AWS docs on that, because sometimes it can be a bit difficult to try and get your credentials sorted if you're doing them as environment variables or your local AWS config. And then this was one thing I realized actually the other day I'd left out. Make sure you put the -- out Timestream on your K6 run command, because otherwise it won't use the plugin even if you built it in there. And then set your environment variables for the Timestream database name and the table name, and you should really be good to go then with your script. You can obviously build it yourself, so I think there's some really good tooling from K6, the XK6 build tool, so you can build in different plugins from different places. So yeah, I guess you can kind of mix and match there. I guess one thing to be a little bit aware of is that make sure that you do have some tags set up. So like Timestream doesn't let you write in stuff with just a timestamp and the value. So make sure you've got some tags set up. So I mean, I think Marie, did you set up something like test type is load test?
I added it on my option. So as part of my K6 script, there is the options object, and I just added a tag there.
Okay.
Quite similar to this. So I just put it as load test.
Yeah. I think that's very easy to forget. I've done it multiple times. But apart from that, I'm hoping there aren't too many gotchas in here. The other thing that I've put in here as well is a Grafana dashboard, so hopefully help you get started. There's definitely at least one issue with it, so I wouldn't go straight into like trusting it completely yet.
Show the good stuff first.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, we'll have a look at getting this deployed and running it. So what I'm hoping is that my AWS credentials haven't expired. So let's give it a go. In fact, these were like the kind of 3 commands I thought would be good to start with. So we can build the image locally. So that's building in my plugin into K6. We'll deploy the Timestream database and table name, and table. And then we'll just run the integration tests in this repo. So
is it worth looking at the commands that you've added on the make file, just to show to the viewers like what build image actually looks like?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's building but using Docker.
Yeah. So I think maybe the more interesting thing then is like the actual Docker file potentially. So I think, this does a lot of stuff about, because I use it for both CI and for actually building the final image. But probably the interesting thing really would install XK6 in there to build it. I was having some issues with Docker for some reason there, but I was using the AWS CLI because it's quite useful for having a dev container that I can test in. We'll skip a bit of this, but eventually we just copy into the K6 image. I think, should I be using Grafana K6 here? No. Does it make a difference?
Wait, what was that? Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Stop using load impact / K6. Yeah, right now we are publishing still to both orgs, but the load impact one will be going away ultimately. But I wouldn't say anytime soon. But yeah, switch over to the Grafana one. It's the same image, but
Awesome. Now,
future protect yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've run a little load test there. I mean, it's not very exciting. I'm just running it against a little Nginx web server here. So you can see we've hit 100 VUs, and nothing too exciting. And hopefully we can see it saving some records to Timestream. So it's managed to write some records there. And I guess if we go over, so I spun up Grafana earlier. So hopefully we just refresh that actually. We should be able to see in here. There's my very short load test. So this is what I was kind of thinking it might be a good idea to demo something a little bit more exciting, because there's not too much here to look at. Yeah, I mean, this dashboard I did model on is like a really good dashboard from like 2017 that I think might have come from K6 actually. So very similar to that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah. So that kind of, I mean, that's basically what you get, out of the box with the repo. You'll get your stuff set up in AWS. You'll be able to build and run the K6 locally with the plugin there, and you'll be able to see your data. But yeah, I do think it's worth kind of showing maybe like a distributed load test, and we can see maybe a bit more results in here.
Yeah, I was going to ask too on that, because I was trying to look in the Grafana, the community, because they have it where you can have all these different dashboards are contributed by the community, and then there's like just a giant registry of all these different dashboards. But I was wondering, did you happen to publish this one, or is it only available in your GitHub repo?
I don't think I've published it to that registry.
Okay.
I think I do know which one he means, because I think that's where I found the 2017.
Yeah, because that's one where then people can they can, from directly inside of Grafana, they can go and say import this dashboard, and then they could grab that. Because I don't know how your data source and everything is. I don't know. Is it the setup? I'm kind of curious for timescale or Timestream. Yeah. I knew I said that one wrong. As soon as it came out, it's like, wait, did I say the wrong thing? Do that all the time. But yeah, so your data source for that, I mean, how are all these queries done? Is it using like a InfluxDB flavor of query or Postgres query flavor, or is it like, Prometheus, where it's the different types of queries are written, the PromQL?
So it uses the Timestream SQL, so it's kind of pretty standard SQL.
Is it pretty okay?
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't messed with that database at all, so I wasn't sure what the query syntax looked like. So it's just like a regular relational database, essentially.
Exactly. They do give you some like quite useful commands for kind of stuff you're likely to do with Timestream, so you can kind of bin up your different time periods. So maybe you want to bin all the stuff in 1 second.
And do like the sums and bucket things. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's generally quite easy to work with.
So I haven't experimented yet with the PromQL. Is that like a different syntax than your regular just SQL queries, or like what's unique about it?
Yeah, because you're going to do things like, sum, and then, your query will actually be like sum and then in parens, and then you'll say all the different labels that you want to bring in, and things like if you want to, like 15 minutes, the time frames and that. But yeah, it's not like a regular, SQL. It's completely different than SQL. You're not going to do a select splat from, where, all that stuff. It's
so I guess that's one advantage maybe of Timestream is that maybe it's much more easier to like get started with. Yeah.
Yeah, for old timers like me, it would probably be easier to get started with because I know SQL from way back. PromQL was just still a little bit iffy for me.
New. Yeah. I think like are there any cuz like we've mentioned that it's just like I think one it's fairly new like 2019. Are there any other disadvantages or drawbacks if someone chose Timestream over the other time series DB?
I mean, I guess you are kind of tying yourself into AWS if you're worried about that.
Yeah.
I know that, for example, like InfluxDB, you can deploy across Azure, GCP, and Amazon. Um, I don't know how, but again, it's one of those depends questions, isn't it? Depends on
Right.
Mm.
what your organization's like. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it evolves as well. Like, I mean, with that timescale DB article I read, maybe there's potentially some performance issues to sort out there, and I've seen that a little bit here. But they do say as well that if the more you run against it, the more it'll warm up and get going, and be able to accept to be able to kind of handle the load. But I guess with the thing with maybe some load tests is that they can be quite short, so maybe you don't have that warm up time that you would normally have.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think any of these are necessarily showstoppers, but I think like it's definitely worth, like we were saying before, kind of experimenting with a few of these different things. And I think having the options there really is helpful because you can try them out yourself. I was thinking maybe
Yeah.
we should do a bit of a kind of data store comparison. We could run a few load tests,
Yeah.
like how they do.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's a different
yeah,
show.
like one way as well, like I'm just realizing because like with K6 we can specify multiple like data sources for the out command. So if you want, you can have like so you can use this extension and then also have like a K6 binary with because there is an extension for InfluxDB or is it Prometheus, Paul?
Yeah, for InfluxDB, Prometheus, it used to be an extension. It still kind of
Now
technically
it's
is, but
it's
we're
now
bringing that in as
experimental.
kind of more, yeah, as the default,
Yeah.
ultimately.
So if people want to like try and see like the differences in outputting it to different time series DB, then it's like easier as well because you just have to specify like the ways that you want to output it to.
Yeah.
And yeah, cool. Um, so for anyone who doesn't know much of like the AWS time stream, because I know you had it open a while ago. For them to like for them to use your extension, like what are some prerequisites that they need to be aware of? So if they have created a database or like using your script, will a database be automatically created, or is that something that they would have to do beforehand?
I think there's kind of like the dependencies really that the repo has. So you'll need like the AWS CLI, you'll need your account set up. I don't think there's anything too special that you necessarily need. It's not like you need to kind of enable Timestream within AWS or anything. It will be there in obviously those supported regions. So I think you should be good to get going. There's a Docker image as part of the GitHub repo that you can pull down. I still need to actually build an ARM version of that, but there's an x86 one there. Or you can download the x86 executable, which is just a K6 built with the extension there. So hopefully
Nice,
it's
yeah.
okay to get going. But I'm very happy, to work. I know Marie you had some issues before, so we can work through those and see if we can
Yeah.
improve the
My
experience.
my issue is a bit different. I think I was getting some issue in terms of rejected records.
Yeah.
So I actually need to um expand like what the errors are showing. So maybe there's some misconfiguration that I've done. But yeah, I didn't use any of like the built-in commands, but I did create my own database and then just created a
Hmm.
table, and then exported the name into my environment variable, configured my AWS credentials, and yeah, it was pretty smooth.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
By chance, do you know, does AWS have anything where it's like a Docker based, time stream database that you can develop against? So like when you were creating the extension, I mean, you had to, I would assume, go live against a actual time stream database. So you were, absorbing cost, or, it wasn't free basically. But I know some of the AWS tools, I thought they have it where it's Dockerized, where at least you can like go against the API, while you're doing development.
Yeah, yeah, there definitely is. I mean, I know there's some that are AWS supported, and then there's some like open source and some paid for versions. But for TimeStream, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, with you kind of only paying as you use it, like, and you were hitting like less than 1 cent if I was just doing, some small testing locally.
Yeah.
I think it's only really when you get to that scale of, like tens of thousands of users or more that you start hitting that cost. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it would be nice, I think, to be able to have that, ability to develop locally, because you don't necessarily always have access to use.
Right. Yeah, I know. Cause that's like, I feel like I'm always so spoiled by, local development. I can always spin up, a RabbitMQ or whatever locally in Docker and, kind of work against that. And, it's always
Yeah.
kind of nice to be able to do it disconnected, if you will. So,
Yeah, no, definitely.
Do you have any other like future plans for your extension?
Not necessarily for the extension. I think there's some like optimizations that I really want to do, and I really want it to be easy for people to use. So I'm very happy to kind of make it easier and easier. Anything that I can
Yeah.
do to kind of make it a bit more batteries included, it'd be great. So do just give me a shout or raise an issue on the repo if there's anything
Yeah.
you stuck with or you think could be better. The thing that I have been working on, though, like I was hinting at it before, the like distributed load testing side of things. I really love the K6 operator, by the way. I think it's absolutely awesome. I did actually do some testing against this using it. So I was having a bit of a play around anyway, because it takes quite a while to create a Kubernetes cluster. And I was kind of looking for stuff that was like a bit more out of the box.
yeah.
So I was having a bit of a play around with creating like a CDK module where you can, run a distributed load test as just another option really compared to the K6 operator. So I've kind of got that a bit there. It's definitely experimental at the minute and maybe not ready to open source yet. But but I can show you a bit of that if you want, and that'll give us some more data in
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Grafana. So what I've done is set up, while we've been talking, just set up a different table in the background, hopefully that's deployed. Yeah, so we've got a load test table here. So this is, I mean, slightly different to your K6 operator, although, some of the same kind of things apply, in that you need to do that kind of interface between the K6 API and whatever's controlling it.
Right.
So a lot of this was kind of, taken from looking at the K6 operator code. But what this does, and in fact, I'll kick it off and then we can talk through it. So if I go back, oh no, hopefully this is just a auto sign in. Yeah. So if we go over here, so boom, there we go. So essentially, there's just a step function here. So this thing just really like they call it a state machine, and that like it'll run some steps, store the state for you, and move on to the next step. And I just really use this to like orchestrate a load test. So like I said, I'll kick this off. So what we do is we can, in fact, I'll move this VS Code over here. So what we can do is we can kick off give it some configuration that'll kick off a load of load generators across the world. So,
Yeah.
for example, here I'm saying I just want tons of load generators with half a CPU and a gig of RAM. So again, very similar to the K6 operator. Kind of say how big you want your pods to be, and then we just choose a few different regions across the world to run these load generators in. So I'll kick that off now.
So you'll have a single test that's being distributed amongst multiple regions.
Yeah, multiple regions and then multiple load generators within those regions.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So this thing, I mean, I quite like this as well because you can actually see what's kind of going on, all the steps that you're taking.
Could you expand a bit on it? Make it a bit bigger.
Oh, I can do it like that. Is that good?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we just we take that configuration that I gave you, and then a little lambda will give you back a couple of CloudFormation templates, and this has things in like create a VPC in each of the regions. We've then got like an ECS cluster that we use, so AWS's version almost of Kubernetes there. And then we also kick off in fact, it might be easier to see this in CloudFormation, so I'll jump over there. So this doesn't really work too well, that zoomed in. So over here we've got this stack. Sorry, I think I'll have to make this a bit bigger. So you can kind of see here we're creating a load of roles and things, but we are creating that ECS cluster, and that'll be in each of the regions. So this one's in Ireland, and hopefully, so these have now kicked off. So this is the other CloudFormation template there, and that's creating your tasks. So that's kind of your pods really from the Kubernetes world. And then the way that we control it is just with an event-based SQS queue. So we can push out, an init command, a start command, and a stop command. And I guess the idea really there is that you want your K6s all to come up. They can take as long as they want to get going. And then once they're all up, you send that start command so that they all kick off at the same time. So that's kind of roughly how it works. And hopefully we jump back over here. It should take a couple of minutes. So they're still going.
Yeah, but no, that's cool. So you're actually using ECS instead of EKS. So it's not Kubernetes. And I think ECS is cheaper too than the Kubernetes, the managed Kubernetes from AWS, I think. So no, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, very similar to Operator. So is this going to be called AWS Operator, or what do we call this?
I went with the catchy name CDK K6 distributed. So maybe I need to change that one. Cool. So I think these are actually done. No, I think there'll be one somewhere across the world that's still going.
Still running,
yeah. But these ones in Ireland look like they're all done. Hopefully it won't be too long. I did say this was experimental as well, so if it all
that's cool though. I love that, and especially too that you can do you can have a single test spanning multiple regions. So you can split that load across those regions, because right now I think Operator is going to be just, it's a single region, but you can have your worker nodes and, spread out a bit, but it's still one region.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool.
I think can you, I don't know loads about Kubernetes, but can you do cross region on any of the
I don't think you can have a single cluster that is that spans multiple regions that I'm aware of. I think it's only within a single region, and then they can span multiple availability zones. So then that way, then you're kind of protected that way. But I think it's single region only.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah, well, we're gonna definitely have to talk after this.
Paul's
This is,
buzzing now.
yeah, it's like, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Definitely talk. I mean,
Sounds
I'll be well
yeah.
up for collaborating on something. So
Yeah.
if we want to develop this further, definitely.
Sounds like AWS operator is forming.
So I think my tests are running here, by the way. So hopefully, maybe just give this a refresh. So yeah. Oh, we maybe didn't give it enough resources. You can kind of see like normally I get like a smooth line there, but if you haven't quite, given it enough resources, then you don't really get that smooth line. Annoyingly, I don't seem to be getting any data for the requests per second there. What's going on? So maybe this is a good time actually to ignore Grafana. Head over to the SQL side of things. So, I mean, let me just grab the name of the database. Oh, it was load test, wasn't it? So if I do select that from test. Oh.
The dot is the table name.
So the first one's like the database name, and then
the
one's the table name. So cool. So we can see we've got some results. So yeah, we've got one Asia Pacific, Southeast, some in the US as well there. So the thing that I quite like about being able to run, your SQL is that you can kind of work out, for example, like the journey of a particular virtual user. So, for example, maybe we say something like, for instance, here's one and VU. These are strings, by the way, which is definitely something worth remembering. So we can see here that we've got the different iterations, and maybe if I just choose one of the fields that's output, like I think the HTTP request is a good one. So equals HTTP. It looks something like that, I think. And then we can probably, we've got lots of iteration zeros there. I feel like I'm missing some restriction. But you can start to kind of narrow down the data there and, look into views that you've got going on. So I found it really, I don't know about you, Paul, I imagine with your SQL knowledge is probably quite good.
I don't know. I just never say I'm good. No, but but no, that's cool though. And of course here I'm off looking. When is AWS reInvent? So see, end of November and December. So you think you can have this ready? We can talk about this in Vegas. reInvent. We can present this. No, that's.
Yeah, it sounds like an open invitation there, Paul.
That's right. That's right. Well, hashtag pints with Paul. Yeah, no,
but this is pretty cool. Yeah, because it makes, I guess, like the debugging like easier, because if you're already familiar, with like database queries with like running it, then if you want to find like any sort of like performance issues within your test run, then you can do it this way. So this has been really useful.
Yeah.
Good. And again, like you can do similar things with InfluxDB as well, and I think TimesDB probably has the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think definitely like getting this, I don't know, as an extension, or like something that we can like also offer to the community. I think that would be a good project, or yeah, a good like collaboration,
Yeah.
which like like if you're interested to do it with us, I'm sure Paul will be your helping hand.
Yeah. 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 No, that's very cool. My mind is going now. It's uh, no, but yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, I think so just I guess to help people in terms of like the adoption. So I know one thing that we noticed from our side is we need to add your extension as part of our docs. So we have an issue created for
Yep.
that. So hopefully, in the next few weeks, we'll have it added as part of the like extension space in terms of like examples on how to run it, because we have it for other like time series database like like InfluxDB. So I think it also makes sense if we have a documentation there around the time stream DB. So we'll let you
Yep.
know once that is live.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The issue is out there. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you know. All right. I guess just to end this, because I know Leon, what like when we were collaborating, you were I guess curious to know like where K6 is headed next. So maybe Paul and I can give you some insights. But from my side, I think there's definitely work going on in terms of positioning K6 as not just a load testing tool, but a reliability testing tool. So, we've had a few episodes already around K6 browsers and how that's merged into K6 core. We really want to make sure that the browser functionality side is already is there as a first class like citizen, and then we're doing some work as well on the XK6 disruptor for the fault injection.
Yep.
So we're like there's like now different use cases as to like what you can use K6 for. So it's gonna be quite an exciting times ahead as we start to position K6 as more than just a load testing tool.
I do really
Definitely.
like that. I think like having one tool that you can go to like that, where you've got it's JavaScript, so it's reasonably portable, but you can use K6. I think is really handy. And
Yeah.
I'd really love to play around with the chaos style stuff. I think
Yeah.
the fault
Yeah.
injection stuff. So maybe we can
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah when
Everybody
We'll be
everybody
keen,
likes to
yeah.
play with the chaos stuff. It's like, oh, what can I
Yeah.
break? I don't know. Everybody's little horns start coming out. They want to break things.
Yeah. We'll be really keen to see if you have any feedback, because I've had to play around with the XK6 disruptor as well, and like from so I never had any prior knowledge about chaos testing, and that was my first time playing around with the tool. So it was yeah it was really a great experience. So I would be keen to hear your thoughts from your side once you have more time, and yeah, help us provide any feedback, like any improvements that you can think of.
absolutely.
Cool. So yeah, any last words from you, Paul, or
Just yeah, be prepared. Vegas in the end of November. We'll hit reinvent. We can you can demonstrate the distribute the AWS
AWS
operator. Yeah.
operator? Yeah. You heard it first in this episode. The
No, that's
birth of AWS operator.
exactly. Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, keep up the good work on that. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely will do. And we'll chat afterwards as well and sort something
Love
out.
that. Yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah. Okay, Leo. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope everyone found this episode really useful. I found it useful.
No.
I never, knew about the Timestream DB before, and now I have more knowledge. Hopefully we'll be back again next week. We still have to plan the episode for next week. I'm sure we'll have something, but if not, have a great weekend, everyone, and thank you so much again, Leon, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Thank
Alrighty.
you. Take care. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.